been connected to the wonderful Ebony Freeman, and I highly recommend that all of you check it out. So my name is Stephanie Short. I am Vice President of Partnerships at America Succeeds, and we do nonprofit education, policy, and advocacy. But I did not begin my career doing this work. I started in technology, and I actually worked for several startups because I was super drawn to the idea of building something from the ground up and creatively solving problems and being scrappy and working with entrepreneurs. And it was in that space that I was first faced with a lot of lies and damn lies and a lot of statistics to overcome. And as I kind of made my way, I decided to take that experience and launch a consulting business, helping other entrepreneurs do the same thing. And that did eventually lead me to my work today. But I think there are two really critical lessons that I have carried forward with me in this work. And I think are really relevant to what our wonderful panelists are going to be talking about. The first is that we need to change the narrative about what it means to be a female founder and a woman in business, because behind every single one of those statistics is a story of success. Behind every lie or challenge or fear that we have, there is a trailblazer ahead of us and beside us who has some incredible advice to help us get through. The second lesson is that community is really, really critical for us all to achieve success. So to show up for each other, to support each other, and to be in those moments, the hard times and the good, to get to where we want to go. And so I just wanted to take a moment as we start to say thank you for saying yes to this community, for taking some time to be inspired by our panelists, to learn and hopefully get some great advice that we can all carry back into the rest of our days. And I will leave it short and sweet because I know they have wonderful things to say. So with that, Ebony, I will pass it back to you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. So I'm now going to open our first poll before we hop into our introductions. So this is just a quick question of, are you a startup founder? Yes, no, in the past or in the future? And as we get started with that, I'd love if we can do the tell me about yourself and we're going to start off with Sally Hatcher. Who are you, Sally?
Hi, everybody. Well, yeah, so I'm Sally Hatcher. I have founded 2 companies here in Colorado over the past 20 years. And then I've been involved in several more. That's my passion now, is to take really cool ideas about how I want to change the world or the place where I want to be and figuring out how to make that happen. So I found that entrepreneurship is the tool that I can use to make change. So that's what I do.
I love it. I love it. Next is Beth. And Beth, I think you're on mute.
Oh, of course, right? I just want to say thanks to everyone for joining us this afternoon. It's really cool to see everyone's face. I'm Beth McEwen. I'm in Denver, and I'm the founder of a product called the Fluency Score, which works like a FICO score for startups. And my background is accidentally found myself an entrepreneur by, going out and solving a problem first and then realizing it was actually a business and kind of coming into this work from that perspective, right? And in the past few years, I went really deep in helping entrepreneurs by running accelerator programs. So I've run 20 accelerator programs in 6 states and went really, really deep on this kind of question that we're tackling today around what does it actually take to help companies be successful and overcome this idea that 9 out of 10 companies are going to fail. And I was just never really satisfied with that. So that's been sort of my driving mission, is to change those statistics.
Ooh, she tied in the title, y'all. Okay, thank you. And finally, Natasha, who are you?
My name is Natasha Wright. I am the founder and executive director of a nonprofit organization called Chai for Charity, which is trying to make giving more social and inclusive. So we drink chai and we invest in local nonprofit efforts. And we also try to inspire kids to give in ways that are meaningful to them. In my spare time, I work at Google in learning and development for managers across the world. And I also founded Women at Google Boulder and led it for a number of years, which is an employee resource group that advances the role of women in tech.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, y'all. So we have the coolest people here. I hope you're ready. This is amazing. I'll give a small intro about myself because they're the shining stars here. Hi, my name is Ebony Freeman. I met these wonder stars through my time living in Boulder, Colorado. I also work at Google. I've been a mentor for CU Boulder Startup Ventures program. I'm also a member of the Colorado Women's Chamber of Commerce Young Professionals Board. And I met Beth on LinkedIn. So honestly, you can meet anyone anywhere. So thank y'all so much for being willing to talk on this panel. And so our next question is going to be, how did you first get introduced to the world of entrepreneurship? And this will be for Beth and Sally, with Beth starting us off.
Sure. Well, I sort of hinted at it already. I came into it accidentally. I had a business doing basically private tutoring for students and needed ways to advertise that business in my community. And so built a platform to connect parents with resources in the community and realized that was more interesting to me than just offering services. And so kind of got deeper and deeper into what does it mean to build a scalable product? What does it mean to build something that can be bigger than just my time and my skill and make a bigger difference in the world? And so that led me into the world of accelerators and helping people kind of all over the country build their businesses.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. Sally, please tell us, how did you first get introduced to the world of entrepreneurship?
So it's interesting to me because I had my dream job. I had gone to grad school. I wanted to be a water lawyer. I wanted to deal with environmental issues. I dealt with Superfund. I saved the world. I wore a white halo to work every day. And it was exactly what I wanted to do. Until one day it wasn't. And, my husband came home with this really amazing, very technical, very wonky idea. And I thought, I am never going to have this kind of crazy, amazing hardware idea, but I sure do know how to put that together and run a business. So I took my business background and my law background and I said, let's start a company. And so that's how I got involved, is just taking a plunge of saying, I'm 30, I am hireable, and I'm going to try this. And if it utterly fails, I will go get a day job again.
Ooh, so I'm already hearing so many notes of inspiration as well as determination. She said, I'm going to go at this. I love it. Thank you. And then I'm wondering, why did you decide to take the risk on starting something new instead of sticking to the status quo? Sally, I love what you've already touched on there. Natasha, can you dive into that a little further for us?
Absolutely. I'm so inspired by Sally and Beth. This is amazing. I'm feeling like a huge imposter right now and honored to be considered an entrepreneur. So for me, it was that as you know, I'm running a nonprofit. So I actually just got to a point where the status quo wasn't serving me. Like Sally, it wasn't serving me anymore. And it took one moment of intense courage to try and do something new. So given the way that I'm engineered, I started small and I tested it a number of times. And once I had enough tests that proved that it was something that the world needed, I took the plunge, like Sally said, because the status quo just wasn't good enough for me. I needed to do something that felt more meaningful. And I wanted to model something beautiful for my children.
Oh my gosh, that's perfect. Thank you. And then Beth, did you have anything else you wanted to add around maybe any hesitancies around really diving into that accelerator world?
Oh my goodness. Everything about starting a business was scary. Like, let's be honest, when we start, it all feels, so I'm the sort of person that likes a challenge. I seek it out all over in every part of my life. And I'm sort of bored if it's not a little bit hard. So I'm wired for this kind of work. And I didn't know it in the beginning. But everything was hard. You have to learn so many things. And actually, I don't think that ever changes. So if you're still sort of early in your process and you're like, oh, well, it's good to know that I don't feel alone here, it never actually gets easier. So but I hope that's encouraging, because it means, like, I often see so many women that are so talented in so many ways. And like, this is a way to show off that ability to continue to level up and continue to find those places where you can shine and bring those skills in new ways. So whether you're a solopreneur getting started, or you have your first employee, or you're running a company that's raised millions of dollars, like, there's always a new set of challenges, and you get to bring your whole self to that work. And so, like, in the beginning, it was scary, but I think there was a moment where it shifted for me, and I was like, no, like, the scary and the hard is actually what I like about this. Is why I'm like, this is the right place for me, because every job I ever had, I got bored. This is better.
Ebony, can I jump on that? Beth, that is so amazing. And I just want to point out that, I think we really invent our own narratives. And I have a great narrative, right? That, oh, I was in business as a consultant, and then I was a lawyer, so therefore I can run a company. You know what? That sounds so good in hindsight. I knew nothing of what it would take to start my company. And we were doing hardware, like physical optic stuff, in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, little bitty hovel, here in Boulder. And we didn't know what we were doing. We invented it every single day. So I think that, you go back and look, oh, this all came together, but, really it's taking that leap into the unknown.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So now, do all new business owners need a co-founder to succeed? Because I don't know about y'all, but there are definitely, if it's hard as you're saying, and there's as much fear and it requires so much courage, do you need someone else helping you along to get started? And I'm going to start that question with Beth, and then we're going to move on to Sally.
Oh, I have so many strong opinions about this one, you guys. If you have ever applied to an accelerator program, then you have been told that you have to have a co-founder. That is a guarantee. It's the template. And there's plenty of people in the world will say, for that exact reason, Ebony, you're absolutely right. It is hard. And I think that that's where that idea comes from, is like, it's too hard for one person to do. The reality is it's not. Like, the reality is that in the early days, you need to do what's right for your company. And that may be you doing what needs to happen until it's appropriate to bring other people into the business. So when I started the Fluency Score business, the business is called Fluent. Our product is the Fluency Score. I worked on it for a year on my own before I brought on my first employee. And then that employee helped me build for another year before I brought on a third person who ended up becoming a co-founder. And that there's been an evolution of like who has been involved at different levels. And I've always been able to recruit the people into the business that I needed to serve. There's a really great article by First Round Capital that talks about like tours of duty within a startup, where it's not a lifetime commitment to this company. It's like, who do you need in this business and for what duration of time, that's really healthy for both the business and for the people based on what the business needs at any given time. And I think it's a really healthy way to look at it. But in the earliest days, all I was doing was customer discovery. And it was a thing that I could do on my own as I figured out the path towards building the right business. And if I had had more people to manage and figure out, I actually think it would have been hard for me to run. So that may be different for other people, but I don't think it's not a one size fits all situation.
Well, that is hugely helpful. Also, I just want to call out before we head over to Sally, I'm writing down notes furiously over here, y'all. They're dropping gems and we're only at minute 15. So please feel free to hop in the chat, send up some emojis, whatever you're feeling. We're really here to hang out, y'all. So thank you. And then Sally, can you let us know a little bit of your perspective on, do all business owners need a co-founder? And specifically, since you've worked at CU Boulder here in Colorado, have you seen any differences in the success rate of companies who start out with a single founder versus multiple?
Yep. So it depends, right? It always depends. But yeah, these days I am teaching and coaching at University of Colorado. And I work with these really difficult technologies that are very hard, hardware, software, AI, ML, throw it all together. And that's a lot of work. So you generally do want more than one person because there's just so much work to get done and so much technical work, which is really, really different from your business work. So one of the things I would say to founders is figure out what you love to do. So, do you love to go out there and sell something? Wonderful. The world needs you. Do you love to have technical innovation and be in the lab and figure it out and then make something that delights your customer? Fantastic. But those two roles, it's pretty rare that somebody can do all of that well and do it all at once. So I do tend to prefer co-founders to make it a little easier, understanding that in the long run, many of the hardest things in a startup are still the HR issues. People are people, and it will always take a lot of your time to work with your team and build your team, build your culture. So when you have more than one person, you're going to have to allocate the time to really build those relationships.
Ooh, Sally, you just spoke some truth. Thank you so much. And Natasha, I've had the pleasure of being a volunteer for one of your events, and I've met some of your co-founders. Would you mind giving some additional, loving the snaps. Would you mind giving some additional context on, whether or not you built out a co-founder or just building your team in those early days as a nonprofit?
Yeah, I actually don't have a co-founder. We're a 100% volunteer-run organization, and I have the luxury and the amazing luck to have found a couple of volunteers who've actually helped build Chai into the organization that we are today. And they all have day jobs, and in their spare time, they're helping Chai for charity. And I couldn't do it without them. To Sally's point, we all have such different strengths that we bring to the organization, and some opportunities as well. So early on, we did a SWOT analysis, and it was unfamiliar to me, but it really helped to identify our gaps and to help and to support each other in filling those gaps.
So helpful. So 2 pieces, and then we're going to head over to Pamela Romero's question. So Natasha, can you tell us what does SWOT mean? And then also, how do you get people, I like you as a person, but how do you get people to volunteer for you if you're not giving them money?
I have no idea. But I'll try to answer your question. So SWOT analysis is actually an acronym for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And like normal people, I did a YouTube search to learn how to run a SWOT analysis with my board and staff. And that's how we did it. And we now do it every year to identify strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and try and fill those gaps with more amazing volunteers. Ebony, maybe I'll throw this question back at you because you're one of my volunteers, and I know that you know me. I don't know, I guess a ton of trust and maybe my Natasha dazzle really brought them in. And I truly believe that they love what it is that we do. So I am hoping that we continue to inspire people. And when I inspire our volunteers, I give them a lot of responsibility and accountability, and I help them to build a set of skills that maybe they're not getting anywhere else. Just like I was looking for Chai to help fill a part of my soul that needed filling, I'm hoping that Chai for Charity fills a part of their soul that needs filling.
Oh my gosh, y'all are so inspirational. Can you stop? My heart's all full. I feel like the Grinch at Christmas. Okay, so I also would agree with exactly what Natasha said. I have volunteered with her, I think 1 or 2 times, unpaid, several hours, and I loved every second of it because the energy that she brings and that Natasha dazzle. And I'd really encourage you to reach out to some of your favorite people because Natasha's one of my favorite people. That's the reason I volunteer for her. So if you're starting a nonprofit and you're wondering how to gather volunteers, be your best self and shine like Natasha does. Okay, now next to our question from the lovely Pamela Romero, also everyone pump in the questions. How do we recognize what kind of co-founder or partner do we need? So for this one, I'm gonna just specifically go with Sally.
Okay, so I would handle that by starting with what is your market? So you usually people start a business with what's the problem that I see out there? What are people lacking, or what is going wrong. So just exactly like Beth got really curious about a problem, started solving it, and then realized there was actually a business around it. So that's where I think that many people start a business, is seeing a problem and trying to solve it. From there, you start thinking about what are the jobs that need to be done. Does somebody have to build or code your product? So that's a skill set. Does somebody really need to validate that this is a true problem in the market and that there's a product market fit? So is there a real need? So, that's a whole nother skill set, is to go out there and validate this opportunity. So what I would do, a lot of this is available online, and there are many people who will help you. Just doubling down on Natasha's, we can go there in a minute, but I would make a list of the various things that need to be done to get your idea launched. And then I would figure out, do I have that skill set, or do I need to reach out with my dazzle and bring people? I'm going to try this, Natasha. I'm going to try it right now. But, do I need to reach out and get people in to help me solve these parts of the problem?
That is so perfect. Also, Sally, you're dazzling. I'm seeing it. It's shining. Thank you. So I think then, Sally, you're just on a roll right now. So our next question is going to start with you. Then we're going to move to Beth. What about accelerators? How much value, and exactly kind of what we're talking about, how much value they add in terms of finding your co-founders, finding funding, finding customers, and that product market fit that you mentioned. And so specifically about accelerators here, Sally, and then Beth. Super.
Short answer. Accelerators can be absolutely awesome. They just help you focus, and they bring you resources. And so they can be a great place to help you organize your thinking and figuring out what you need to do, and then pushing you to execute. The very best accelerators come with a good opportunity to raise funds afterwards, because one issue is that accelerators can be expensive. So look for an accelerator that really targets the kind of business opportunity that you have, and then try to go with one where you think that the juice is going to be worth the squeeze at the end, in terms of having a business that's ready to launch, get some revenue, and bring in some potential investment if you need it.
Ooh, that's the potatoes right there. I love it. Mashed potatoes. And now for Beth. Thank you, Sally, for laughing at that. Now, Beth.
Yeah, of course. I've been in the accelerator world for a really long time, and I think my love for that kind of program is because that was an early part of my entrepreneurial path. I went from being a solo founder, building my first business and really trying to solve all the problems on my own, to being like, you know what, I think I've expended everything that I know how to do on my own. I need a different kind of help. And the long-term value of that was that I think this will speak to the women in this audience, that there was something that shifted for me from going from like, I'm working on this business and yeah, it's making money and yeah, things are working, to other people recognizing the value of what I was creating and bringing me into a professional community. Stephanie, that's kind of what you were talking about, the value of a community for entrepreneurs. It was really the first place where that recognition and that, like, I don't know, I was just invited into a space where it's like, no, what you're doing is important and it's valuable and we're here to help you. It really transformed the way that I showed up with my business early in my career, right? And so, oh my gosh, if you are, again, starting off, I think it's just an incredible place to meet peers that are struggling with the same sorts of challenges that you are. The value of the peer network is some of the pieces that sticks with you for the longest. You meet mentors that can be real advocates for your business. I think often people just say, well, is it going to help me get funding? And I certainly hope that that's true. And it often can be a path to funding. But there are so many things that you learn about being a successful entrepreneur from all of those experiences that I think is really valuable.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. And quick fire, Beth, and then Sally, then Natasha, are there any Colorado-based women-oriented professional communities for entrepreneurs?
Oh, I'll go super fast. I'm so new to the community. I need to be introduced to more. So I'm going to take notes.
Love it. Now, Sally?
Wow, you've asked the question I wasn't expecting. So like SBDC in Boulder has just run or is getting ready to run a cohort of women entrepreneurs. So obviously, they're doing something right. And then other than that, it's so interesting to me that it's the Women's Interest Network is spun out from Rocky's Venture Club, and like what they are doing. There is a corporate board-bound program for women who want to join boards, and that's called Board Ready down in Denver. So there are a lot of these, they're just pockets. For many, many years, I've belonged to something called the Boulder Women Entrepreneurs Group. And, that was started by just a group of women who were out doing a solopreneurship by themselves and needed some community. So go out there. There are many, but if you don't see one, you make one out of the people you see right here.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Sally, giving everyone an action item. I love those. Okay, Natasha?
I actually don't have much to add. I want us to all do what Sally said. I don't know any women's specific ones, but I joined a nonprofit leaders group. Nonprofit leaders group, because I was looking for that kind of community that Beth was talking about, and it's been incredibly valuable to feel like I belong in the nonprofit space. In fact, before coming to this session, I texted one of my mentors and I was like, hey, thanks for helping to make me feel like I actually belong in this space. It's making me feel less like an imposter as I walk into this panel discussion. So I think those communities are incredibly important. I don't have women-specific ones coming to mind. Women's Chamber of Commerce. There's Women in Technology. There's Mergelane, which is, I'm going to screw up what it is that they do, but I bet Sally and Beth know them better than I do. But they invest in, nope, I'm not going to mess it up. But Sally and Beth, please jump in, or someone Google it. But I know that they help women build businesses.
Natasha, that was perfect. Thank you. Okay, and Natasha, you're on a roll. So what's the biggest misconception about startups that is held by women you know?
That we aren't capable of doing it. Not that we can't do it, that we don't believe that we're capable of doing it. In my work with women at Google Boulder over the last 5 years, and in leadership development for women leaders at Google, I think that me talking about myself as an imposter is probably not helping the situation, but I think it's a really common fear that women have in all walks of life. And I would imagine specifically in the entrepreneurship space, that we don't believe that we're capable of it. And you're wrong. All of you are wrong. We're all capable of it, and so much more.
Natasha, did you just call out a lie? Ooh, I love it. Okay, and now what's one thing you've heard about starting up a business in Colorado that you now know is a lie? And this one's going to be for Sally, because she's such a longtime Coloradan.
Yeah, you can't get funded in Colorado. You can't find good people in Colorado. You have to go to a coast. I mean, don't give me any of this, by the way. I am such a Colorado fan. You can absolutely do this right here. And it's a wonderful place to start a company. It's one of those really crazy silver linings of COVID, that the world is so much smaller today than it was even 14 months ago. So there is so much you can do right here.
Yes. And most of our attendees today are from the Colorado region. So again, I love what was said earlier. Look at the names who are participating and reach out to one another. Also, thank you, Tanya, for bringing up a comment. I'm not going to read it out loud, but if you want to read it, open the chat, y'all. And so our next question is going to be specifically for Beth. How did you gain your first few customers and or users? And was that experience similar to what you were told it would be like?
Well, okay. So I'm going to tell the story of my current business, Fluent. So Fluent, currently our customers are accelerator programs and investors and folks like that. And by the time I started it, I had a pretty deep network in that space. So you would think that if I was going to start a business serving people that were all colleagues, people that I knew all over the country, that it's going to be a piece of cake, right? And instead I spent 9 months doing customer discovery, because even though I came into the work with a lot of expertise and a lot of personal experience with the problem that I wanted to solve, when I went out and really did customer discovery from a perspective of like, let me understand how other people experience this, I just kept hitting no after no after no after no after no, like weeks of I don't have this problem, and nope, this isn't one of my pain points, and just like, you would not believe it. So that really led to an evolution of what I wanted to bring into the world. And I would never have dreamt of the fluency score without the kind of pain and suffering of that 9 months of discovery and real honesty around, am I solving a problem for people, right? And I would never have imagined needing a product like this in the market without having done that work. But the good news is that when I got it right, the very first customer that I pitched the idea to said yes, and I got a 5-figure contract out of it with no product. Like the product didn't exist, and I didn't even know if I could create it. And they were willing to find out because the pain was so real, right? So it works if you play it out and kind of sit with that discomfort. It works.
And Beth, what I love about your point right there is that you went in kind of with one idea and had to massage it for quite a while. So, I mean, you really pivoted. That's the thing we talk about a lot in entrepreneurship, that you are really looking for what the customer needs, as opposed to what you think is super cool. Yes. And when you figured that out, kaboom, 5 figures is a really significant yes. Right a way to start and say, yeah, this is actually what people are going to want.
And it wouldn't have been worth my time if I couldn't have made that sale, right? So it needed to be both. I needed to be right about the problem, and I needed to be right that people would buy it to make the rest of the work worth it.
I think that's absolutely right. It is an incredible amount of work to be an entrepreneur. And if you don't have something that a lot of people want, that you're going to make 1 or 2 of your product and then be done with, it's just not worth all that effort and all that struggle. And so you do want to turn around and find something that's really a good fit.
Just keep jiving, y'all. I love it. I love it. So our next question is going to be for Natasha and Beth. Where did you find the right mentors, and how did you build and maintain a relationship with those mentors over time? Let's start off with Natasha.
To Beth and Sally's point, it was that community. So I'll take it a step back. We talk a lot about how to gain mentors and then how to keep them through Women At. And so I learned a lot of it through Women At. And my mentors, gosh, what do I want you to hear? I want you to hear that I, like Ebony, meeting Beth through LinkedIn, I search them out. So I find the coolest people in the universe, and then I go and invite them to talk to me and hope that we enjoy each other's company. And then I make myself a nuisance and contact them over and over again, make sure that they know about the work that I'm doing. I mentioned earlier, I emailed a couple of mentors of mine earlier today. So, how did I find them? I found them through the community. I found them because one of them was my kid's friend's father, who happened to work in Social Venture Partners, which is an organization in Boulder that works with a ton of nonprofits. And so we became fast friends because I really valued his advice on how to build a nonprofit and what I was lacking and where I could build more leadership skills as a nonprofit executive director. So that's one example of a mentor that I found accidentally. But often, like Ebony, inspired by Ebony, I will do some LinkedIn searching, and I will invite my friends to introduce me to their friends, because that's how trust is built, and that's how you can filter quickly for the best folks to mentor you.
Natasha, you said the words, the 2 words that came to mind as I was thinking about the answer was values and trust. And I think the first one, like you can filter for, do we share the same values? Do we share the same vision? Like, do we want the world, are we moving in the same direction in the way we want to impact the world? And that's the first thing that has to be true. And if it is not, there's no point in, like, no amount of expertise will overcome a lack of shared values, right? But that is, I think, what often catches me. Like, those shared values are what makes me like excited to talk to somebody. It was when I met Ebony from just a random LinkedIn message, and I was like, oh my gosh, when can I hang out with you again, right? Because that, like, the shared values were just so evident immediately. But then it's actually about trust. And that's true not just for mentors, it's literally every business relationship, whether it's a customer, an employee, or a co-founder, or whatever. Like, and that happens in little incremental showing up and doing what you say you're going to do every single time. And that doesn't happen immediately. And so I don't think it's a mentor relationship after that first meeting, even if it's just like a connection on LinkedIn or an introduction. It's like, oh, we connect and we have these great conversations. And oh my goodness, every single time there's this trust keeps getting built. And there's a moment where each person can show up and teach and support the other person.
Love it. Love it. Oh, Sally, did you want to throw something in there?
Sure. I'll just say that there are many kinds of mentors. And sometimes you get assigned a mentor and an accelerator. And sometimes you reach out and find one. This is not like I meet you every week for coffee and you listen to my deepest fears. This is no. This is a lot of different, it's a connection. And it's talking to somebody who's got information or feedback or support that you need right now. And you might just occasionally touch base with them, or you might ask them for help making some connections. So think of mentoring very broadly as the people in your network who can provide sage advice. They might not be older than you or more experienced than you in some particular area, but they can help give you the lift you need at that time.
Oh, yes. Okay. Small PSA from my side, the difference between mentorship and sponsorship. So we've been talking about mentorship so far, which is when someone kind of guides you through your troubles and guides you through your successes and keeps you humble sometimes. But a sponsor is more so someone who's willing to stick out their neck for you. So I'll give the most brief story of all time. So, in sophomore year of college, I knew I wanted to be in business world, but I didn't have any inroads. And I think Tanya mentioned earlier about people saying you can't do it because you haven't done it before. And it's like, whoa there, you haven't given me a chance. So I remember I was in the lunchroom, and this is for our college students specifically, but it applies to anybody. I was in the lunchroom of my university at Emory University in Atlanta. And I saw this man, didn't know him. He had a strong presence. I liked that presence. I said, hey, my name's Ebony Freeman. He said, my name's Eric Bymaster. I'm the director of finance. And I said, excellent. And so I said, do you need an intern? He said, no. I said, that's fine, sir. What's your email? He said, Ebony, I don't know you. And I said, that's okay, sir. I'll see you around. And so then I found his email and I emailed him every holiday saying, hi, my name's Ebony Freeman. I work for free. I'm smart. I can do anything. You give me a chance, sir. And eventually around Thanksgiving, I imagine his family must have warmed his heart, but he eventually gave me that internship and he paid me for it because I think I had shown that I had vigor. I was willing to do whatever it took to succeed. And that's just kind of a PSA that sponsorship, sometimes it doesn't come to you. You have to seek it out and you have to use the lessons that were suggested by our panelists today about having the right vibes, having the right values, and being determined to not give up. And that's my PSA. All right. And now my next thing is, if you could change one thing about your entrepreneurial journey, what would you change? And I'm actually going to throw this to Stephanie first because she has such an amazing foundation in this area.
Thanks, Ebony. I was not ready to answer that question, but I do think about it a lot. Because at the time when you're in it, you just don't always know what you don't know. And so to the point that the panelists have all made, right, the lessons that come out of hindsight and looking back, I think can totally change your trajectory. But I would just use it as an opportunity to underscore what's been said, understand what your strengths are, look for mentors who can help you get over the challenges or help you figure out the things that you don't know. And then, especially to Beth's point, align yourself with people who are bought into your vision of the world, because that energy is what keeps you going to make a change that you were all trying to see.
Ooh, she said she wasn't prepared. Then she threw a saucer at us. Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay, so let's go ahead and have Natasha answer this question as well. If you could change one thing about your entrepreneurial journey, what would you change?
And reflect. For me, it would be more patience, more grace, more time. I want to be successful yesterday, and I'm really impatient with how long it's taking for me to understand how a nonprofit should run, what my role should be, how to use a board effectively, how to use my staff effectively. And with more time, I feel like I could get there, but I've got these other jobs. I'm a mom and I work at Google and so if it were up to me, I would, I guess I just don't have the conditions right for me to do this, but I would quit everything and focus only on chai. And I'm just not there yet. So in some ways, I guess I wouldn't change anything. And in others, if I could just have more time in a day and more patience for myself.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Natasha. I'll also give a disclaimer that Natasha's kind of lowering all her achievements at the moment. She's spread her Chai for Charity across 2 states, and not only the West Coast, she's conquering the Midwest. So she's saying, like, imagine if she had all the time in the world. I'd be terrified, honestly. Woo.
Also, 4 states, and I went international. Thank you very much, Ebony.
Oh my gosh. See, there we go. That's, you just gotta pick it out of people. You gotta get it out of them. Okay, thank y'all. So our final question for all the panelists is, what do you hope your legacy will be? And we'll start off with Beth.
Yeah, I want nothing less than to change the way entrepreneurs access capital and resources using data to make decisions rather than who you look like and who you know. That's all, just that.
Yes, thank you, Beth. And now we're gonna go to Sally.
Oh, that's really hard, Ebony, because I have so many around, like my second company. I mean, I want to deliver AIDS tests to Africa for everybody who needs them in under 5 minutes for under $1 a test, blah, blah, blah. But, when I look back at this, I want other people and women to be one step more fearless in just trying things. So, entrepreneurship is a brand new and evolving place. It's an ecosystem now, and you're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail. You're going to feel stupid. You're going to be tears of embarrassment over that last email and letting it go. I want my legacy just to be, okay, I'm going to try it again. She failed. It was very obvious, and she got up and she kept going, and look what happened. So I can do that too.
Yes. Oh, I love it. Okay, Natasha, what do you hope your legacy will be?
Everything that Sally said. And also, I want giving to go viral. I want folks to invent ways to give that are extraordinary and unconventional. And I want to create an entire generation of giving. So my kids, I want to make sure that they are aware of all of the gifts that they have and the ways that they can give in meaningful, and the ways that they can give meaningfully at different parts of their lives. Because at 20-year-old me had plenty of time, but no talent. 40-year-old me has no time and some talent. 60-year-old me will have a whole different version of those things. And it turns out that my 9-year-old son came to me one day and said, hey, kids have things to give too. And we designed a Chai for Charity for kids because kids have things to give too. So that's what my legacy is going to be.
Oh my gosh, what am I doing with my life? Okay. And Stephanie, you're too awesome. So I'm going to throw this last one to you too. Hopefully, maybe you can talk about what you do full time a little bit. And the question is, what do you hope your legacy will be?
Thanks, Ebony, again with the big unprompted questions. But for those that know my work, I work in education and every day improving pathways to success. And I don't think that pathway ends at high school or college. It's a pathway that we're all on all the time. And so I hope that in some small way, I can impact the opportunity to create a more equitable future where women, where communities of color, where every person can find a pathway where they are fulfilled and they are meaningfully contributing to their community and the world around them.
Ooh, Stephanie, better watch out. I'm going to make you a keynote. So as I'm pulling up our last poll for all the for all the attendees, please say thank you in the chat. Our speakers have been amazing. And let me go ahead and pull up this next poll. Yes, thank you, Sama. And also, I'm going to go ahead and I technically promised our speakers they could leave now, so adios if you need to go. But I'm now going to pull up our video from two of our marketing sponsors. The first is going to be from Stacy Puka and the Defy Ventures for Colorado.
Colorado should be the worst place to commit a violent crime, but the best place to get a second chance. I think what Defy does, it defies the odds. It defies the traditional way of looking at rehabilitation and kind of creates its own energy, its own hurricane of possibility. This is a happy day.
We're showing that we can become more than our past.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jenny Crawford. I'm the Assistant Director for the McNeil Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation here at the Colorado School of Mines campus. I'm really excited about today's events and the conversations around some of the myths or truths with women in entrepreneurship. I love this idea because a lot of this reminds me of what happens at Colorado School of Mines campus. All of you are really talking about this topic, really trying to hone in on what that problem is, and then what is the solution to it. So I just want to say real quick, the Colorado School of Mines has some really amazing programs, and we hope to see more ladies in our classrooms. A few things about us, we do have some scholarships. We also have some exciting events coming up in the next few years. This summer we'll be breaking ground on the Labriola complex. This is a building that will house our educational program and fuel innovation and entrepreneurship thinking. As well as in a few years, we'll also be creating the Beck Venture Center. Will be a place for students to launch their ideas or their startups or to gain more traction. If you'd like more information about our programs or what we're about, you can email us at innovation@mines.edu.
And thank you again to Defy Colorado and the Colorado School of Mines for being marketing sponsors for this event. Thank you to Stephanie Short. Ooh, what's going on? Thank you to Stephanie Short for being the best opener of all time. And she was an accidental panelist. Okay, thank you, Stephanie, for showing the world. Thank you, Natasha, for starting Chai for Charity, for letting us all volunteer whatever we have to bring to the table. Thank you, Sally, for being the women leader at CU Boulder Venture Partners. Thank you, Beth, for starting Fluency Score. It's going to be majorly helpful. And thank you to the wonderful, the amazing, the secretly fantastic Joanna Oliva, without whom this event could not have happened. Please find each other online. Also, I'm going to close this whole thing in about 60 seconds. So feel free to throw your LinkedIn, your website, anything you want in the chat, and I'll put it all together for a post-event email. So again, if you want to put your LinkedIn right now, chaiforcharity.org. Thank you, Natasha. Again, it's 4:50. Look at that, y'all. This thing's happened so fast. So I'll give you 45 more seconds to put in your information, anything you want to share with the group today.
Thank you, Ebony. I can't imagine a more energetic and fun event. Thank you so much for pulling such amazing people together.
Thank you, Beth. Okay, 10.
This was awesome.
Oh, yes. Thank you,
Super
Sally.
awesome. Yes. Thanks everybody for coming. It was really fun to read the chats, to have everybody engaged. Thanks for being here. I think the energy from this kind of thing just helps us all go out and be great.
Perfect. And now we're going to close this thing off in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Love you. Bye.